I'm Trip Clark.
And I'm Tom Lang, and this is Open Throttle 360. Welcome to another episode of Open Throttle 360. We're at Domination Chassis in the South Hills, an automotive performance, service, and fabrication facility.
And Tom, I understand you're going to get a chance to talk with Jay Cooper, the owner of Domination Chassis, in a little bit about what they do here.
Yeah, some interesting projects underway here, and Jay's going to fill us in on all the details.
And we're back after getting the bump by the Big 12 tournament last week, but we're back. Spring is in the air. I feel the rumble of the local racers and their engines getting ready for a new season. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, the racers are getting their cars ready. The tracks are getting prepped. Racing season is here.
Yeah, it is. You know, one of the things I have a regret of is I really didn't get a chance to visit a lot of the tracks as a kid. My dad wasn't really a big race fan. I've been out to North Hills Raceway with some friends, but never got a chance to get to Heidelberg or PID, and I hear so much about them now doing Open Throttle 360.
Yes, there's been some legendary racetracks in this area, and we're going to do a recurring series of features on tracks that aren't here anymore. Yep. And right now, we'd like to give the fans a chance to revisit Heidelberg Raceway.
For almost 3 decades, beginning in the late 1940s, Pittsburgh had a premier motorsports facility in Scott Township known as Heidelberg Raceway. Today it's home to Lowe's, Walmart, and a variety of other retail establishments. But back in the day, it was a local and national racers' paradise. I recently spoke with Dave Kohler, board member and Hall of Fame committee member of the Pittsburgh Circle Track Club, about Heidelberg Raceway.
Heidelberg Raceway was originally constructed to be a horse racing track. It was originally built by Heidelberg Sports Enterprises president Dave Wright. He, along with a number of other businessmen, including Art Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, got the money together and built this track for horse racing. At that time, Pennsylvania did not have a license for parimutuel betting. Thus, the Heidelberg Raceway was born as a stock car track. Well, Ed Witzberger, a local businessman, he owned a number of tire dealerships in the area. He purchased the racetrack and ran it basically through its entire existence. But he ran a very tight ship. He was very business-oriented. He loved racing, and it really showed in the type of racetrack that Heidelberg Raceway evolved into, the type of competitors that competed weekly there, brought in a lot of big names, and consequently the fans showed up. You know, obviously for the horse racing, they wanted a bigger type of track, so it started out as a half mile. They had the quarter mile inside the track. They even had a smaller track inside of the quarter mile, which was an eighth mile. In the center of the eighth mile oval was a crossover, an X, and they used it as a figure eight. Ultimately, they even had the front straightaway of the big track used as a drag racing track. You had 5 racetracks in one. There were always large crowds, and it was just a thrill and excitement seeing the guys compete, not only on the dirt track, but on the asphalt tracks. Different drivers that literally came from all over the United States and Canada. Guys like Bobby Allison, who would haul in from Birmingham, Alabama. He'd run weekly races. He'd win his share, but there were nights that he didn't win. You saw a lot of drivers who were either nationally known drivers or top local drivers. The track started out with a NASCAR sanction. Lee Petty, the father of NASCAR's winningest driver, Richard Petty, won his first ever NASCAR race at the Heidelberg Raceway in 1949. And local driver Dick Linder from the Brookline area, he was second in that race. Boy, you had a lot of guys that raced there locally. That probably the biggest name and the name that everybody thinks of when you mention Heidelberg Raceway was Herb Scott. You had a guy like Joe Mihalik. You had guys like Norm Benning, Tony Diano, Jim Bickerstaff. They were the guys that came in from Ohio. Tom Mayer, Bob Seneker, Ed Howe, who would come in from Michigan. They competed against the local guys, Don Diverts of the world, Johnny Orban, Bill Roush, Peanuts Eustons, Miles Witchey, Don Dale, Glade Neal. The list goes on and on and on from the early days to the latter years.
Reasons for the track closing range from the oil crisis to urban sprawl. There may be some truth to all of it, but according to Dave Kohler, the real reason may be, well, let's just say, a racing incident.
1973, The area was growing up. Eventually, it was going to go away. There was a situation that happened with some of the drivers. Joe Mihalik and Norm Benning got involved in an accident. Norm pretty much stuffed Joe in the wall. Joe got out of his car, took his helmet off, and whacked Norm in the elbow with his helmet and shattered his elbow. So they suspended Joe. The owner of Joe's car got the guys together, and they protested it, and they went on strike. Ultimately, that was the beginning of the end. Several years later, the track closed.
In the summer of 2012, 40 years after the last lap was run at Heidelberg, Dave Kohler and local racing historian and host of Rappin' on Racin', Don Gamble, made certain that Heidelberg got its due recognition with a ceremony and plaque commemorating the raceway. Expecting 20 to 30 people for the event, more than 400 people showed up. A testament to the love that this region has for racing and to one of the best racing facilities we've ever had. If you want to learn more about Heidelberg Raceway, go to speedwayproductions.biz.
That was a great piece on Heidelberg Raceway. Now let's go to an interview with a driver who turned a lot of laps at Heidelberg, my friend and mentor, Don Gamble. Probably one of the most connected and well-rounded people in motorsports in the tri-state area. Don, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
I love the show. You guys are doing a great job.
Tell us a little bit about all your media ventures in the area racing.
Well, in 1969, I was teaching a summer graphics arts class, and I was racing at Latrobe Speedway, and someone said, "We don't have a program up here. Why don't you print something? You're into that printing stuff." So I took 2 sheets of paper, folded in half, 8 pages. It was a dime. And I gave the kid 50 of them. I said, "You sell them, I'll take a nickel, you take a nickel." He came back in 15 minutes. I said, "What happened?" He said, "They're gone." Well, that evolved into a 4-color magazine, Racing's Almost Perfect magazine. I was still racing. A fellow was doing a radio show on WEDO, and he said, "I can't come on a Saturday." This was in 1985. He said, "Will you fill in for me?" And he never came back. And I've been doing Rappin' on Racing. This will be our 30th year. And your drag racing report is a big part of it.
Well, you're not just been involved in the media end of the sport. You were a driver. You've been a promoter. You've seen this sport from all different angles.
I love the sport. I started out as a fan, did some driving. I actually worked as a flagman, a pit steward, a tech inspector, I said announcer, a promoter. It's in my blood. And, you know, it's like a disease. You just can't get it out.
Have you ever worked in the concession stand?
From time to time, when they got in a jam, when I was promoting Motordrome, if we were shorthanded, I might have to put a couple of hot dogs out or do some French fries.
From back in the beginning till now, what's the biggest change that you've seen in motorsports?
The cost. I mean, when we won the championship at North Hills, 1978, the car, trailer, and all the spare parts was $3,500. That's incomparable today. A late model, a sprint car, or a modified that rolls into the track on a race night, there's $500 before they get in there. Pit fee, fuel, tires, it's pretty expensive. Now in the support divisions, it's not quite so bad. But what you would consider a pure stock, they used to be $3,000, $4,000. Well, now they'll put $10,000, $12,000 in a motor. It's insane. The racers are their own worst enemy.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Of every discipline of racing and every class and every discipline, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, being involved with the Circle Track Club. Old Timers Night, I mean, I'm no longer racing and we still do the radio show, but whether it's the banquet or Nostalgia Night or Old Timers, I get to talk to my childhood heroes, and we're losing them because most of them are in their 80s. But I think I get the most satisfaction, other than winning a race, the most satisfaction I get would be being involved with the Circle Track Club and Nostalgia and Old Timers.
One thing that you think that local racing needs to do to survive?
Well, they can't raise the purses because the revenue's not there. I think you're going to see a lot of tracks going to specials only instead of running every week. I can see the top divisions like the super late models being a traveling circuit where they can't afford to have them all the time. The biggest cost is tires and motors. They need to go with a spec motor and a tire that lasts more than 1 or 2 race nights. When I promoted Motordrome in the modifieds, Jimmy Bickerstaff Jr. and Tommy Beck were the 2 hot dogs there, and Mark Flick, and they could get 8 weeks on a set of tires. And we had 30 cars in the division. Now they get a week and a half and they have 8 cars. It's very simple. You got to cut the costs because you can't raise the purses.
Well, on behalf of racers and race fans everywhere, I want to thank you for everything you've done for motorsports, and I'd like to thank you for what you've done for me personally.
It's a great show. Keep up the good work.
I'm Jack Delaney, Delaney Chevrolet.
In 1971, Delaney Automotive opened in downtown Indiana with an eye on the future. We knew if we treated customers right, business would grow. That's why we strive to provide the biggest selection and lowest prices. Right now, lease the 2013 Hyundai Sonata GLS, starting at $199 a month for 36 months. Or lease the 2013 Hyundai Elantra GLS, starting at $159 a month for 24 months. Delaney, it's all right here.
Delaney!
The best tires, parts, and service. Tire Town.
We're here at Domination Chassis. With me now is the owner, Jay Cooper. Jay, thanks for having us here today.
I'm happy to have you guys.
So what kind of services does Domination Chassis provide?
Basically, what you're looking at is a full-service, real-deal hot rod race and fab shop. We'll do mechanical repairs, we'll do complete builds, we'll do scratch builds, and we'll also take that little project that you had that you maybe couldn't weld aluminum. Just bring a component down, we'll drop a bead on it for you, and then you're on to the next task.
Well, how do people find you?
You can go to the website, dominationchassis.com. You can check us out on Facebook.
I noticed on this car it says beyond repair. Nothing's beyond repair, is it?
That's the nice thing about metal. If you cut it too short, you can add some more. If it rusts away, you can add some more. As long as you know what you're doing and you have the right equipment, you can just keep on whittling away at it and working at it until you come out with a nice piece of artwork. Now,
this is a 32 Ford chassis you got going on here, but this piece over here really interests me. It's a 1960 Porsche 356.
That's correct.
And I see some new Porsche, I see some old Porsche, and I see a lot of fabrication in between. Tell us what you did here.
Yeah, this is a little bit of the vintage and a little bit of the modern. The suspension on it is a 2008 Porsche Carrera 2, and the shell, like you said, is a 1960 steel shell, which are getting pretty rare. We jigged it up on the chassis jig and narrowed the track width to keep the vintage lines of the car and shortened the wheelbase so it fit underneath. And once it was jigged up, we connected the points with some chromoly steel tubing, put an air-cooled engine in the back for mock-up. Once we're done with this thing, it's going to sit about 4 inches off the ground and look really, really mean.
Sounds pretty cool. You know, back in the day when racers wanted to build a race car, they had to go to the junkyard and get their parts from there. Not that I see any junk here, but a lot of the same fabrication abilities I see here. We recently did an interview with a couple of racers from back in that era. Let's hear from Andy Lutz and Ralph Quarterson. We're at the Racers for Care benefit, and I have the privilege of interviewing two of the legends of racing in this area, Andy Lutz and Ralph Quarterson. Guys, thanks for taking the time to join us. Andy, what kind of car do you race in?
I run everything. I run sprint cars, coupes, modifieds, semi-lates, like Ralphie. We run everything. Anything that had a steering wheel in it.
You had over 200 wins?
No, over 500 wins.
My math was never my strong point.
I could tell that, yeah, but I won them the hard way.
Ralph Quarterson, one of the pets of our radio show. We try to mention your name every week because I know you're a hero to some of our friends. Finally corralled you for an interview.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody knew old buggers like me.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, there's a lot of stories around. I asked you earlier, and I'm going to ask you again. You raced against Andy Lutz?
Oh, yeah, we raced together. On the modifieds mostly.
And what'd you tell me about the bumper?
He had a bumper on the back of his car, and every time there's a dent on it, his wife would write my name on it or Vic George's name on it.
Were you responsible for those dents?
A lot of them, yeah.
Racing back in your day and what it is now, what do you see as the biggest difference?
Money. Yeah, these cars cost 20 times more than what cars we drove.
I got that in stereo. It came from both sides.
Yes, he did. But also, one thing he didn't tell you was, he owned a racetrack one time.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, Mercer Raceway. And he banned me from there. I wasn't allowed to run there.
Is that because you won too much or what?
Well, they said I had a 30x90 running with the coupes, which was a cut-down coupe, which is sitting out here. and it did win a lot of races.
When you guys talk about money, you're not just talking about the cost, it's probably the payout that's not the same anymore. Or maybe it is actually, huh?
Well, yeah. I like it. I shouldn't say this, but at one track, it was the same payoff since 1982.
So your math is a lot better than mine. Ralph, when you see how the guys are racing these days, do you ever wish you might have the ability to get back in one of these race cars?
Yeah, I wish I would, except, you know, when my whole body hurts, I don't think about it that much.
Do you enjoy going to the races and watching them still?
I just go to Mercer mostly.
And your son, Tommy, he's still racing, isn't he?
No, there's no rides anymore. Everybody owns their own cars or big money behind them, and he won't travel anyhow, so he quit.
Oh, so he's giving it up too. Now, your son Mike helped put this deal together, but he's still out there driving.
Oh, yeah, I'm proud of him. He does a real good job. Yeah.
Could Andy in his prime beat Mike in his prime?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know, back in my days, we didn't have power steering. We had the shocks and the torsion bars and the rubber they got today. And for as many as I won, and Ralphie, same way. But he had good equipment, Ralphie, you know. But he called everything a poop box. Well, I wouldn't say the right word, but that's what he said.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because our editors have enough work to do after this. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Once again, this is Andy Lutz and Ralph Quarterson, and this is Tom Lang reporting for Open Throttle 360. Let's move on from an interview with two drivers who were still racing when this Porsche was brand new to an up-and-coming sprint car driver who just received the Most Improved Driver Award at the Lernerville banquet, and that would be Eric Turkey Williams. Joining us now is Eric Williams, nicknamed Turkey. Where'd you get that name?
You know, everybody says turkeys can't fly, and I'm trying to prove them wrong every day, but it's not working out too well. So, you know, I guess I got a long neck. I don't know. Girlfriend puts a collared shirt on me so they can't tell, but I guess I don't know. You be the judge. I'm not too sure why.
What kind of car do you race?
A sprint car, actually, yeah.
How'd you get into racing a sprint car?
Well, I started out in micro sprints. My brothers were always busy out with my dad going camping, and my dad's girlfriend and I, we were sitting there, went to Hickory Speedway down in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, actually, and saw the micro sprints, and I was probably 14. She had a guy at work that she knew that was trying to sell one, so she bought it, and I got into that.
Your girlfriend bought you a car?
My dad's girlfriend. She's a little older than I am.
Okay. I was going to say, is she still your dad's girlfriend?
She's still my dad's girlfriend. Yeah, he didn't leave her. He's still with her. I don't know. It's crazy how it all works out.
Yeah, any girlfriend that's going to buy you a race car is a keeper, whether it's yours or your dad's. In your racing career, what's the biggest race you've ever won?
This year we won a race at Lernerville and Mercer, and both of those are pretty important to me. Lernerville is probably the prestigious Lernerville, I guess everybody knows of, that has the outlaw races. And then Mercer, I mean, I grew up as a kid going to Mercer watching races, and then to actually, I guess, finally go to that victory lane in Mercer was pretty special to me. And then, I mean, it was a nice season we had this year.
Who were your racing heroes growing up?
You know, I always watched people like Jamie Smith and Ed Lynch. You watch Bob Felmley, Rod George. I guess I'm getting older every day. I'm 27, almost 28, and a lot of the guys I grew up watching race, I'm racing with now. I remember watching like people like Lou Blaine. Lou Blaine is probably my hero, and I only drove modified once in hot laps, but to watch Lou Blaine, I was so surprised one day. There went Lou Blaine so fast, and then one day he drove by without his helmet on for autograph night or who knows what, and he had gray hair, and I was probably 6 or 7, and it just traumatized me. Dad, that guy's got gray hair, and he's so fast. I didn't understand. My first sprint car I ever drove was one of Jamie Smith's old sprint cars, so it was kind of neat how the full circle swung around.
What does the future hold for you?
2013, right now, our plans are to focus on Lernerville, Mercer's points championships. Maybe I always said I never points race, and I said that, I guess, even after we won the championship at Mercer this year, that we'd win all points race. But it's kind of neat. It's kind of fun to be committed to a racetrack and try to help them grow and be successful too, because that's what makes this whole operation work for everybody. I mean, if we don't have racers committed to racetracks, then we're probably not going to have racetracks for too long. So it's kind of nice to help everybody grow together. So that's our goal for 2013 is a race for Lernerville, Mercer, and then down the road we might try to expand our schedule and hit more all-star races or outlaw races. But I mean, time will tell.
Well, I'm glad to see that you have the future of the sport in your mind, that you care about what's going to make this sport grow. Keep having the success and prove to people that turkeys can fly.
complete restoration to custom paint to custom fabrication to resto mod. Bruce Harvey Pro Comp Custom offers a variety of services for cars, trucks, SUVs, and motorcycles. For more than 2 decades, Pro Comp's award-winning work has blown away customers all over the globe. Whether it's hot rod, muscle, vintage, or classic, Pro Comp will work with you to design a look that'll turn heads. Visit Bruce Harvey Pro Comp Custom at procompcustom.com.
Sounds every man loves to hear.
Ooh, nice hair.
Text Super PGH to 667-788 for special offers from Supercuts.
Earlier, we had a chance to look at one of the great speedways that's no longer around, Heidelberg Raceway. Throughout the course of the season, we'll look at other tracks that maybe you didn't get a chance to see when you were young. One of the other tracks closely related to Heidelberg is Greater Pittsburgh Speedway. Let's take a look back and see what that speedway was like.
About 15 miles up the road from Heidelberg was a sister track of sorts, Greater Pittsburgh Speedway, also known as Clinton Speedway. Smaller and a little more rural, Greater Pittsburgh Speedway was a quarter-mile track that started as dirt and eventually was paved when Ed Witzberger took over promotion for the track. For a dozen years, from 1958 to 1970, it too was a hub of racing and family fun. One of the many fans to frequent the track was Jim Mechanic, as well as his brother and mom and dad. I talked with Jim about his memories of the track.
Greater Pittsburgh Speedway, or as a lot of other people know as Clinton Speedway because it was in Clinton, PA, was just about 5 miles down the road from us. Some nights we could even hear the cars. So we would go to Greater Pitt. It was a small little quarter-mile track. We would see a lot of guys there. There was Harold Smith, Augie Sandman, Bob James, Joe Mihalik, Jimmy Bickerstaff. That was in the late models. Then they had the claiming division, and the claiming division was as good, if not better, than the late models. Greater Pitt was in conjunction with Heidelberg with their points. So the drivers would come from all over the tri-state area, and they would race at Greater Pitt Friday night, and then they would go to Heidelberg on Saturday, and that would make it a weekend for them. We would go there every Friday night as a family, and we were one of the first people in the parking lot all the time. Just like tailgating. We got there to the track way before it even opened up. The same kind of fans would come at the same time, and we'd start talking to one another. And actually, we grew to be friends, and we continued that friendship with other people that carried on for a long time after both Greater Pitt and Heidelberg were closed down. Not only was it just our family, but it was like an extended family. You had your racing family, and it was nice to look forward to seeing them each weekend. I never went there when it was dirt, but boy, when it was blacktop, it was just a little piece of heaven over there.
Wow, what a great racetrack. Thanks to everybody that helped us put the Heidelberg piece together as well as the Greater Pittsburgh Speedway piece. If you've got some footage or some memories of some tracks that you went to as a kid, feel free to send us an email, info@openthrottle360.com, or go to our Facebook page and start a conversation.
In the Alakiski Valley, autumn is both a time to be inspired by transition and to embrace tradition. At Apollo Trust Company, we understand the changing needs of local customers, and we offer a complete line of products and services to meet them, including mortgage and home equity loans, installment and commercial loans, and even wealth management and trust services. Seasons change. You need a bank that will be there for you at every turn. Apollo Trust Company, a bank you can believe in.
You know it, we know it, they know it. Starting a new family and need something safe and affordable, other dealers tell you nobody can help. That's right, nobody can. Who's putting money back in your wallet? Nobody. Who's got the area's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles? Nobody. Who's got your back like nobody's business? That's right, nobody. Pinnacle Auto Sales, Route 30 in Jeanette, Route 30 Greensburg, or pinnacleautosales.com.
As always, one of my favorite portions of the show is the GoPro segment. Puts you right in the middle of the action. If you've got some GoPro footage and would like to be part of the show, go to openthrottle360.com, follow the link to upload your footage. Let's GoPro now.
You always ask me, baby, don't
That's good right there.
Man, they're putting us to work.
I'm done.
Not quite.
Hands are
We have
clean.
to do the close of the show.
Yeah? Okay.
We'd like to thank Jay Cooper and the folks at Domination Chassis for hosting us here today. If your business would like to host an episode of Open Throttle 360 or somehow become involved in the show, send us an email, info@openthrottle360.com.
Tom, I got an update. We've added a tab to the openthrottle360.com website. We've added an events calendar. So if anybody has, whether you're a promoter, whether you got a racetrack, whether you got a car, cruise, whatever it is, you can go to Open Throttle 360, go to the events tab and add your own event. That way, anything going on motorsports related for the next 6 to 9 months, you can find it on our website.
And if you have any suggestions or comments on the show, send us an email, info@openthrottle360.com.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next time on Open Throttle 360.